Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Here and Now videocast. On the lines of generational trauma and childhood trauma, I have a fellow Zimbabwean and a young aspiring mother who's facing her childhood trauma and some of the things she's had to face as a child and how she's healing that dynamic now for herself and her children. Yes, I'd like to introduce you to Cheron Van Beek. Cheron, thank you for being here. I believe you have a very powerful message. We'll talk about the book you've written related to your journey. And I know in this day and age that we call them trauma speakers, the people that talk about their trauma. And I know a lot of people assume trauma to be something catastrophic like an accident or a life-changing event. But trauma for a lot of children can be just something as simple as feeling abandoned or not seen, not heard, not valued as a person. And that can be very traumatic for most of us, which is kind of the lines we speak about trauma on nowadays. And so I'll hand over to you with a big hug and ask you for a brief introduction.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you for having me. It's a great honor and a pleasure to be here. And I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to share with you and the world my story about how I healed the anger within me and learned that all my life I believed the enemy was out there, but the enemy was actually within myself. And it's so powerful and awe-inspiring to see that, wow, I thought I was fighting me against the world, but I was actually fighting against myself.
What was the fight about? Sorry, do you mind if I ask you, what's this? I know the struggle. I just want to know in your words what this fight is that you had inside you.
The fight was, I don't even know, to be honest with you. It was more like just feeling angry about anything and everything and never understanding that there's a different, you don't have to be so angry and tense and caught up with little things, like, and just being angry about every little thing. If you said something and I took it the wrong way, I'd be so angry forever. And not knowing that, for one, I didn't have to be angry about it. And two, I could just communicate my feelings to you. But I had no idea how to communicate. I was afraid to use my voice. I had no confidence. I believed that I was stupid and I couldn't accomplish the things that I'm accomplishing now. And for me, it was the generational pattern and system that I grew up in. And I see that I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. I am the oldest of 7 kids. And being the oldest, I found I had the responsibility of taking care of my younger sisters at the time. There were just the 4 of us. And I was responsible for taking care of them, myself and my sister that's born after me. And I kind of, the way I see it now is that I kind of got this very serious persona that doesn't know how to have fun and sometimes just go with the flow of life. I was one of those people who needed to have a schedule, and I was very rigid about that schedule. So I would say from 7 to 7:30 is time to brush your teeth. If by 7:30.1 second teeth are not done, I go into a frenzy and screaming and swearing at my kids and just being so angry that you've gone over the time schedule that I set for myself. They don't know that there's a schedule and, a time. So I was really rigid with that. And yeah, just a lot of anger. But what I found was when you begin to do the work on yourself, I was angry. I was angry towards my mom because I believed that she'd wronged me and my sisters. And I still, how do I say, I don't want to portray her in a bad image, but she made a decision that impacted our lives. And that decision affected, I know it affected, I would like to believe it's safe to say it affected the 4 sisters, but this is my story and it certainly affected me.
Can I just want to say something for the people listening to this? I'd like to make it very clear in my work as a coach and dealing with trauma in childhood, one thing we never do is judge or blame the parents. And I feel you saying that, trying to just highlight it. So I thought I'd also put an underline underneath it. That this is not about blame. We're not here to blame anybody. We're here to show that these things happen. And this is how we take responsibility and what we can do when we take responsibility. We don't hold anything against the parents because they had their own story through their parents, generational. But we're just here to say that those actions had an impact. And this is what I'm doing with it now. Just to highlight that we're not here to name and to blame anybody.
No, we're not, absolutely no naming, blaming, shaming. It is what it is. It was the way it was. And I have come to this place of forgiveness, forgiving myself for having those perceptions, having those feelings, and actually holding on to that anger for over 30 years of my life. I forgive my mom because I do understand that she made a decision that, yes, impacted our lives, but I believe she made that decision based upon who she was at that point in her life. And she obviously felt it was the best decision for our family. The way I see it is, in that time, you just basically did what your parents told you. We were not allowed to question or talk back. So those were things that impacted my life. And it silenced my voice, and it took away, it stifled my confidence and my beliefs in myself. And I know we make a big joke about this. My mom used to always say to me, you need to learn hard in school or else you'll be a street sweeper. And it's a big joke amongst my sisters and my brother-in-law and myself. But I see now that that was her way of lovingly encouraging me to do better. But for me, I took it as, oh, I'm stupid. I can't do it better. And all I'm working towards is not being a street sweeper because it's such a disgrace to be a street sweeper, and I didn't want to be a street sweeper. So I worked as hard as my belief in myself of being stupid would allow me to, and did not become a street sweeper. So that was a great accomplishment, I believe. Or, so.
And would you mind sharing a little bit about growing up in Zimbabwe, in Acadia? What was life like, and how did it shape you into this purpose and spiritual great mother you're becoming?
I don't remember much. So this is the story, is when my mom was a single parent with 4 daughters. I was the oldest at the time. Well, I'm the oldest. And I thought life was good. Life was great. We were getting by, we were, I think we were poor. Well, not I think, we were poor. And my dad's sister used to help us a lot financially with school fees and stuff like that. And that was a great shame for me, especially having to go and ask for help from her, to pay our school fees. My dad never paid child support. And my mom did the best that she could with the salary, but I'm grateful that my father's sister was there, and she had her own family, but she always, excuse me, gave when we asked. And she never she just gave lovingly. She never put us down or anything like that. But I felt that shame within myself.
Where do you
And
think
that
that
was,
shame came from as a child?
I, I think I don't know, just the, my mom would
Childhood
always,
shame.
yeah, childhood shame, I guess,
No, but how does a
look,
child know shame? What happens that a child starts feeling shame?
because my mom would always say that my dad doesn't pay child support, and I want to say, throw it in our faces kind of a thing. Well, she would mention it, right? That my dad doesn't pay child support. And I view it now as that was not my problem, but it was my problem because she told it to me, and then she would make my sister and myself go to my aunt's job and ask her for money for school fees or for uniforms and stuff like that. And I don't think, we are proud people. And I found like just going to ask makes you feel less. If you don't have, you feel less. And I know that now asking is so brave. Asking for help is so brave. But I guess the manner in which it was done is like my mom telling us my dad doesn't pay the child support, and then we have to go to my aunt. And just, I guess, because of that, I know I felt shame, and I was always embarrassed wanting to go and ask her. And you know what it did for me? In turn, it gave me this hand-me-down mentality, because another sister of my dad's would always give me her clothes. So I then became used to having things handed down to me, and now believe that I couldn't get things for myself. Even when I started working, I was not worthy enough to buy myself something new. I had to wait for somebody to give me something. And then it became an expectation. So I would look at, like, I'd come to your house and I'd say, oh, Lindsay bought a new sofa. So what did he do with his old sofa? Why didn't he give it to me? I could do with the new sofa.
Yeah, okay.
So this, and it seems crazy, but it's true. Like, so I say I have that hand-me-down mentality because my mom couldn't afford to support us the way I'm sure she desired to, and we needed to ask for help. But at that time, I didn't understand that asking for help is okay. I just felt it was a shame. And then, like I said, it in turn gave me that hand-me-down mentality. And now I've reached the stage where I've released that hand-me-down mentality with great love and gratitude, and am able to buy things for myself and feel proud that I was able to go to the store and buy something for myself and be able to share my blessings with others. But I am doing my best to share in a manner that I hope doesn't give them shame, but empowers them and feels, okay, I am in a place of need right now, and she sees my need and she's helping, not like, oh, I feel ashamed that I need this help.
And it's so beautiful what you're sharing, and thank you for being so open and vulnerable. It's takes a lot of courage to speak up so candidly. Is it possible to share with us a little bit about high school, starting work? Where do you feel that anger towards your mom started building up in you?
So the anger started, I can't remember exactly how old I was when my mom began dating a gentleman, and he had no kids of his own. So when I guess she began dating him, and then they moved in together, but she didn't take us with her. And I was okay with that. I believe, when I've gone through my healing journey, I was fine with that. I was with my sisters. We did move around a lot and stay with different people. And I actually didn't mind that, being moved around. I loved that I was with my sisters, and it didn't matter to me. At least it didn't, it didn't affect me. What affected me was the one day, just beginning Form 4, I think it was the beginning of the year. And my mom came. We were staying with my grandfather, her late dad at the time. And she came and she said, pack your things, you're moving to Bulawayo tomorrow. My dad's family's from Bulawayo. And I was devastated. It's like, what? What? Just the two of us? So two of us have one dad, and then the other two have their own dad. And it's, why, all these questions in my mind, but we weren't allowed to ask questions. And I didn't even know, what would I ask her? How, it's like, what am I going to do? How, my whole life, I have to write O levels. What school am I going to go to? I have to leave my sisters behind. I'm leaving my friends behind. I don't even get a chance to say goodbye to my friends or anything. And the greatest hurt, where the anger began to boil in me, was the fact that when my mom went to live with her boyfriend, I assumed the role and responsibility of parent for my younger siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And now I felt as if my children were being taken away from me, and there's nothing I can do about it. And
oh, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's just like, wow, you're given this responsibility. And I don't know if my mom understands that, or I didn't understand it at the time. It's only now in healing, when I'm seeing this and revisiting that pain, it's like, wow, I unconsciously took on the responsibility. And I speak with my second sister a little bit, and she says, yeah, we were the parents for the younger siblings. And then I know I'm working on myself and my pain, and then we were just moved, separated. And I had a lot of pain, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So it was buried. And this is when the anger started. And what I didn't realize is that a lot of the decisions I made in my life, that anger was the guiding force for some of the, a lot of the choices and things that I made. And I don't regret anything. In fact, no regrets. And I am grateful for the journey, because I know that it shaped who I am today. If I didn't have that experience, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to heal and grow and become a different person, and have love and compassion for my mom and understanding, because I held on to my anger for over 30 years. And in healing, when I began to heal it, I realized that the anger had actually become a comfort zone for me. And when I realized that, I laughed, and I was, no, that's ridiculous. You can't have anger. How can your anger become a place of comfort? But it had, because that's all I knew how to be. That's all I knew how to feel. And not saying that I didn't feel joy and happiness in my life, but I couldn't feel that joy and happiness the way I feel it now.
How did it show up in your life? Do you have anything maybe people can connect with?
It showed up in my life for me, because I didn't I'd never had the confidence to speak up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like, I'm afraid of confrontation. So my younger sister would protect me. If, you know, like people, she was my protector. And then when we moved to Bulawayo, I had a group of friends who were my protectors. So if anybody tried to say something, they would either stand up for me, and if they needed to give someone a beating, they not often, but they were available for that for me. And so that was
Would that make you
good.
feel more angry because you can't even protect yourself? Does that make any sense to you or not?
No, actually, I enjoyed it.
Okay, okay. Okay,
Now,
okay.
having said that, I enjoyed it because at some point in my life, I think because of this, the trauma that I faced, you know, like having this anger with my mom, I took on this damsel in distress
Yeah.
persona
Yes,
kind of a
on.
thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And it's like, it's such a crazy thing because I worked and my mom was adamant about working and being independent and always being able to support yourself financially. And I took that very seriously. In fact, Independent Woman by,
Different style.
yeah, that was my anthem song.
Okay,
And
okay.
yeah, I am this independent woman, but a damsel in distress at the same time, where I can work and earn a living, but certain things I can't do for myself. And I am, even though I worked, I was very dependent on my sister, my younger sister, the one that's born after me. And it was so bad that, and she carried me very well. And then when she got married, her husband took on that. So in Zimbabwe, I was very dependent on them. I didn't know how to drive. I took some lessons and a couple of people tried to teach me, but I couldn't. It just wasn't something that I
You
was
got,
ready to do. Yeah, so they drove me everywhere. I call and it'd just be like, I'll pick up the phone and say, oh, I need to do this, pick me up. And they would pick me up. And sometimes my sister would become frustrated and say, well, we're not picking you up. Like weekends on a Saturday morning, I would say, okay, call on Friday and say, pick me up tomorrow morning. Let's go for breakfast and then do whatever we're doing. And then sometimes she would get frustrated and say, no, I want to spend this
yeah,
Saturday morning with my husband.
yeah.
And I couldn't understand that. And then I would be so angry with her and not talk to her, you know. And then the great thing is that her in-laws, her father-in-law loved me, and they took us all in as family when, you know, and so I would call him. Oh, can you pick me up? Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And he would do it. So I was like I said, I was this working, living on my own, paying my bills and stuff like that, but still very reliant and dependent on my children. I mean, on my sister. And then I came to Canada, and I had to. It's a different lifestyle, and I still do have a great support system, my Canadian system, a family that is now my family. They're from Zimbabwe, but they've been in Canada for, I think about, say 15 years before I got here.
Okay.
And then they took Kaylee and I in, my oldest daughter, and the system is different. They were not, because of the lifestyle, they couldn't drive me here and there when I needed to.
Yes.
And I felt sometimes I would have a tantrum about it, but then also began to understand that the system is different, the lifestyle is different, and people just can't drop things at a moment's
But
notice.
that's a good thing for you because it develops your independence then, right?
Yeah. And then I began saying, oh, Canada's where I grew up. This is where I began to start growing up. And I didn't realize the impact it was having on my life at that time. I was growing up, but there was still a lot of work that needed to be done. And that the work happened when I faced the greatest trial of my life in 2012. And that was my ex-husband. Now, we'd known each other for a number of, I think about 7 years, because we have friends in common. And the timing wasn't right for us to date. And then in 2012, I guess the stars aligned and we began dating. And because we knew each other for so long, we decided we would like to get pregnant and, like just not wait. So we got pregnant, and then we were in the process of moving in together. In fact, the day before we moved in together, he was deported from Canada.
Wow.
I was 3 months pregnant with our middle daughter. And whoa, that was like, I've faced many trials in my life and I've come through them, but nothing, this was the greatest one of my life. And because I had that damsel in distress, this was my happily ever after I've been waiting for. And in a moment, my life was shattered and my happily ever after was taken from me. I was devastated. I'd been a single mom for so long, and now this life of living with somebody and having a partner, a husband, and just having a family in a different sense was within reach, and then it's just taken away from me. And of course, because of the anger, I was angry with immigration. I was angry at the world. I was angry. At that point in my life, I had Christian beliefs, so I was angry with God. And it was like always asking, what did I do to deserve this? I know I've done some bad things in my life, but I don't think they were that bad that I deserve such a great punishment. And for almost 4 years, I think it was 4 years, I was very angry and I had a lot of shame, like, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? And I did my best to hide it. And because our case took longer, the word got out. And of course, I always say that there's no great trial without having your share of humiliators, which I did have. And because
of humiliating for you, what came out for you that you found people try to use against you in humiliation?
Just, asking in public, you're at a social gathering, and then people will be, oh, so where's your husband today? And I made a lot of excuses, which were lies, saying, oh, he's just, his parents are not well, he had to go back to Hungary. And the thing about here, like the Hungarians were always traveling back and forth back home. So I believe that was a reasonable explanation. And you try to hide these things, but people know.
Yeah.
And I was already feeling guilt and shame and depression. I was very depressed, but I hid it because, for one, the person I was in the past shamed people for depression. It's like, oh, what, suck it up and move on with your life.
You used to shame people who are depressed as well.
Yeah, I did. So here I am, this high and mighty Cheron, suffering with depression. I'm not about to start publicizing that.
Never talk about that, right? No.
No. And so I'm hiding my depression. I'm hiding the guilt and the shame, and it's eating away at me. And at the same time, I'm trying to be strong and keep myself healthy so that I don't affect my unborn child. And there's so much stress and pressure dealing with immigration, the lawyer paperwork, and then having to deal with people shaming you in public is just, it's tough. and eventually I couldn't take it anymore and I went into hiding, and I just stayed home and went to work, did my grocery shopping, and that was it. I wouldn't go anywhere for a long time. And what I didn't realize at the time was, in that hiding, I was growing, and I needed this dark time, and I needed that silence of hiding away from society to start the healing process. But I honestly didn't understand it at the time. For me, it's just like I'm so filled with shame, I'm so filled with guilt and anger, and I just need to hide away. And nobody at work knew what was going on, so it was safe for me to go to work and back without feeling any shame and behaving as if life is normal and my marriage is going great and stuff like that.
Cheron, was that the catalyst then for you to start doing your healing spiritual journey? Was there a particular moment, or was that the moment?
No, that was not the moment. So the turning point in my situation was driving home from work one day, and I had stopped at the light, and it was a kind of cloudy day, but the sun was, I could see this, you can't see the sun, but the clouds are beginning to get yellow. And I looked up at the sky and I thought, wow, if the sun in all its glory can continue to shine behind the clouds, there's got to be a blessing in disguise in my situation. And I just like, oh, thank you, God, whatever the blessing is, I don't know, but thank you. And from that moment, I began slowly, every time I felt sad or guilty or shameful about the situation, I would just say, thank you, God, there's a blessing in disguise in this. I don't know what that blessing is, but I'm going to keep going. And what, again, I had no idea was being grateful is now changing my perspective. It's changing my vibration, changing everything about my situation. And I then attracted a network marketing opportunity into my life. And I took the opportunity without hesitation. And this was completely out of my comfort zone, because I had this belief that my life was to be lived working until I find a new job or retire, and then that live happily ever after on my retirement, and pray that the retirement is enough to get me, pay my bills and whatever. Oh, excuse me. And if that doesn't work, then hopefully my daughter will help subsidize my my finances, And I thought people who want to be entrepreneurs and run their own businesses were absolutely crazy. Like, why on earth would you want to do that when you could go to work, complain about your boss, get your paycheck? In Canada, we get a paycheck every 2 weeks. So get your paycheck every 2 weeks and retire at whatever age you can retire, and then live happily ever after and die. That was the way I believed it. And yeah, I am taking this opportunity, and I couldn't understand, why am I doing this? I have no knowledge of this. I'm certainly not smart enough to do network marketing and stuff like that. But what I realized is the network marketing was a stepping stone to personal development. And it's when I began this personal development journey is when the changes began to take place. And the first mentor I had, always, he kept asking me is, what are your beliefs? Do you know that your beliefs are limiting your life? And I was like, what is this idiot talking about, and he kept harping on about it. So eventually I became so annoyed and thought, well, just to get this person off my back, and I paid a lot of money for this program, so I guess I should find out what are these beliefs he's talking about. In discovering these beliefs, I then discovered that, whoa, these beliefs are generational and they handed down, and I have no idea how long these how many generations these patterns have been handed down for. And I need to be free of my mom, and she gave me these patterns, so I am going to break free of them and be done with the patterns she gave me and be done with her. And that isn't exactly the case, but it's definitely, well, not be done with my mom or free of her, but be free of those patterns. And it was really liberating to see that I can change. I had no idea that I had the ability to make a change and for myself and do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this, began to start accomplishing things. And it's like, wow, there's not stupid in here. There's something of brilliance going on. And so, okay, I did this. What more can I do? I did that. What more can I do? And this was the thing that kept me going. But at some point, excuse me, I just need to, at some point I got to begin, so with then I stopped working with the first mentor. I got to a certain point and I stopped working with him, and then I got another mentor. And this mentor introduced me to the work of the late Louise Hay and the late Dr. Wayne Dyer. Mm-hmm. And I didn't follow the late Louise Hay's work so much as I was drawn to Dr. Dyer's work, and he spoke about the spirituality. And for me, it's like, I don't understand this because it's going against what I believe and what I understand. So but I loved his work, I loved his teachings. And so I would listen to his stuff, I would read his content, his books and stuff, and then be like, okay, this doesn't make sense, and then put his work away for a period of time, and then go back to it. And when you begin this journey, if it's your journey for healing and to lock into spirituality, the universe removes people from your life. And I'd lived my life based upon ego, making decisions coming from an ego perspective. So when my two best friends were taken on another path, I was very angry with them, and I felt that they were betraying me in my time of need, because I was still halfway through my journey of dealing with immigration and all of that stuff, and they were my support, and now they were taking a different path. I didn't see that, yes, they were definitely taking a different path, but I didn't see that I was taking a different path as well, and I was, to the one family that's here in Canada, I was very mean to them on a lot of occasions. But I'm grateful that I don't know if they understood that I'm on a journey or not, or they just love me so much that they allowed me that space to be mean and to come and go, and then, like I said, so they went on their separate journey, and then the universe moved us, my children and myself, into the country. And where we lived before, there was a lot of noise, very populated area and stuff like that. In the country, there's peace and quiet and serene. And I felt I couldn't understand, like, I'm in this place, but I feel so at peace. And I love being here. And this is in this silence and this quiet, serene place is when the healing began. And it was slowly learning to sit with small things that I felt hurt about in my life would pop up, and things that I buried pop up. And then it's like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, I feel good. I let that go. Wow. Yeah. And what I know is that was leading up to healing this anger within myself.
Is this when you decided to write the book?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
So I have, I can share a little bit on that, but I want to talk about how, so what happened was my two best friends were taken, they went on a different path, I went on a different path, and there's one cousin of mine who knew about my situation, but never told me that he knew, but he would always call and check on us, make sure we were okay, texting all the time. And then there's two cousins that came back into my life. Well, three of them, but first the two sisters came back into my life, and they were the first ones I shared my story about my husband being deported openly and honestly outside of my regular support circle. And they gave me so much love and support that gave me courage. And then another cousin of mine who we were very close when we were younger, and then we went our separate ways, came back into my life, and she's still, well, not that the others are not in my life, but her and I reconnected, and it was just like we'd never been apart. And we have shared the journey, her journey, my journey, and she began coaching, and she's the one who helped open the can of worms to the healing of the anger towards my mom when I was ready to, when my soul told me I was ready. I don't know if I was ready myself. And the funny thing is, I'd been on this journey where I'm learning about love and forgiveness and learning about judgments and understanding that when you place a judgment on somebody else, that's a reflection of a judgment that's within you that needs to be worked on or healed. And that was one of the most difficult pills to swallow. It's like, no, I do not accept that. Whatever judgment I'm putting on Lindsay.
I have nothing wrong, right? They
Yeah.
have the problem. They need to change. It's them.
Yeah, they need to change. And it's all about taking responsibility for yourself and your actions. And even though I knew this, my first initial resistance towards healing this anger in me was, nope, I'm going to fix my mom because she has a major problem and she needs fixing. But I don't have the courage or the confidence to do this. So how on earth am I going to do this? Doesn't matter. I will find a way. She's the one with the problem. I'm going to fix her. And all the while knowing that, no, honey, it's you need to fix. But I was resisting, and I was also afraid. I mean, you bury that pain because you don't want to face it.
And
you don't want to feel it. Yeah. And it's like, I felt it so many years ago and I buried it, and I don't want to feel it again. Why would I put myself through all of that? But you have to go through that pain again in order to feel it and sit with it and then release it. And it's so liberating when you can. And yeah, like I said, so my first thing was to fix my mom, and then it's like, okay, I couldn't find a way or a solution to do it. So it's like, okay, I guess I have to do it for myself, take responsibility. And I did, and it was so painful, it really was painful, and I resisted a lot. But in all that resistance, it gave me compassion and understanding, like, wow, I don't know my mom. I don't know her journey. I don't know what pain she has. I don't even know what traumas she's faced as a child. And if I am resisting a 30-year anger and my pain and trauma, I can't expect her to just
deal with hers, right?
Deal with hers overnight, because I want that. And I also had, when I was younger, I realized that I built this image in my mind of the perfect mom. And because I had this image in my mind, and my mom didn't live up to that portrayed image, I penalized her for it, you know, and that added to my anger and all of this. And it's like, wow, I built this toward, you know, this image. So that's on me.
Yeah.
Because that's on me, you know, and because we never had this thing where you can communicate and sit and talk about feelings and whatever. It's just, I'm the parent, this is the way, you know, whatever I say goes. And understanding that this is not how it is. And in having said this, you know, like just before I had to deal with, I really delved into the root of the healing, my mom and I had a disagreement and we stopped talking. And at that point in my life, I want to say this was the first time I stood up to her. And I don't believe that I was rude, but I spoke my truth. And I was so afraid of it. And I know it didn't sit well with her. And because of that, we both stopped communicating with each other. What I realize now is that I'm grateful for that space that was created, because it gave me the opportunity, the space and the time to heal and really work, sit with my anger, feel that pain, feel the emotions, come to terms with the fact that it was a comfort zone. And now I got to let go of my comfort zone. And I kept asking at this, I can't exactly remember when I became, my spirituality journey began, but at this point I knew that definitely I need to sit. I was more spiritual and understanding that I have to sit with these feelings, and then I would be asking the universe, if I let go of the anger, what am I going to do? Who will I be? And my soul, my soul kept saying, you'll be love. And I was like, what? Love? Okay, I want love, but I don't want love. You know, it's like, I want to be love. I want to just radiate love wherever I go. I want to be that essence of love. But I didn't want it because I think I didn't want to give that love to my mom. And that's how I perceived it.
Or give up the anger.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a trade-off, right? I gotta give up the anger to be loved, because you can't have both.
Yeah, and when you love, you don't pick and choose who you love. You give that love freely, and you give love even to those who have hurt you. And
that's hard, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is very difficult, and it's only this past week where I can genuinely say that at this point, my mom and I are still not communicating, but I feel intense love for her. It makes me feel emotional.
Let it come. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
That before, when I was healing, I would say, I'm sending her love and I'm sending her peace. But there was still this feeling of anger, bitterness, and judgment, and also feelings of abandonment. You know, that was a great thing. Like I felt that she took away my responsibility of being the parent, but then I felt like she also abandoned us, you know, and that was painful. And you can't, depending on how deep your pain is and how much work, how much effort you're willing to put into sitting with it and really feeling it and allowing yourself to heal from it. It's, you know, it's such a crazy journey. And I thought healing was just like, okay, I remember in the beginning, it's like, okay, so I heal this pain, and I'm cried out, headaches and everything from crying. And then and I feel good, I feel light, I feel free. And then maybe a couple of months later, the same thing will come up, and it's like, what?
You gotta go deeper.
Yeah. I dealt with this. I don't want to have to deal with this again. And having this tantrum, it really is a tantrum, and fighting and resisting it. And then getting to the understanding that healing is not like, okay, here you go, and I've climbed the mountain, and now I'm at the top, and then it's like, woo, woo, woo,
Yeah,
woo, 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 woo,
yeah.
you know, kind of. And some depending on how deep that pain is, if you're going to get to the root, and I would really recommend getting to the root and releasing it, that's what it's like. And there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And
can you, just because of our time,
yes.
would you mind telling us, sharing a little bit about your vision and what you're doing, and the book?
So I wrote, so then I wrote the book, and so somewhere along my journey, I came up with I realized that my gift is writing, but I was afraid to receive this gift because of dealing with all these insecurities within myself, and those stupid feelings of stupid and lack of confidence. But I was given an opportunity to co-author a book, and I did. But then like I said, okay, went to writing. I knew I had to write the story. And at first, when I began writing the book, I was still angry with my mom, and I was portraying the image of her as a bad person. And so because I had this image of her as a bad mother, I didn't feel comfortable with it. And knowing that, okay, I'm still holding on to a judgment. So I struggled with it. And then eventually I got to a place of writing it where I'm sharing my story and my journey. And I believe coming from a place of love. And I was because it's my first solo book, I didn't know what to expect. I was afraid of being judged by the Zimbabwean community, and I was really afraid of what will people think, and the Zimbabwean community, would they judge me and put me down for like shaming my mom?
Mm-hmm.
And the opposite is like the Zimbabweans have been my greatest supporters, and that has been overwhelming for me. And I am now at this point where I know that writing, I really and truly accept my gift of writing. I have been writing my second book for a long time, but now just over this last week, it's kind of been, with writing my first book, I was struggling because I needed it to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I had so many fears and not confident enough within myself, and not having received my gift from the universe and all of this stuff. So I put it out, and I'm grateful that I did, but now I'm at a different place in my life and in my journey. And I love how I'm allowing the writing to flow from me. Whereas before I kind of struggled with it. Yeah. So
how are you bringing that to the world? What are you doing now for women empowerment or people empowerment? And if you can just just as powerfully as you can.
I do daily videos and just share little snippets here. I was actually, for the month of March, did the Hope Gives You Wings, Give Yourself the Gift of Hope, and sharing little bits about every day, sharing an intention, and then sharing part of my experience. And then when that ended, I was going to do self-love for the month of April, but then I changed it at the last minute because I kind of felt like I needed to do more growing. And so this is how I'm sharing. I do videos, and sometimes I share a post, sometimes I have like, there's a little bit of a poet in me, and these poems just burst out of me, and I share them on social media, mostly on Facebook. So I have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
I'll put all the details. They'll have all the details.
Thank you. Yeah. And if it's like in a video form, I share it on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube and Instagram. If it's a post, I don't put it on YouTube because I haven't figured out how you put a post. I don't know. I think YouTube is just like a video platform, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now.
And last powerful question before we put this, because we could go on and on and on.
Oh yes, yeah.
But I just want to ask you, what would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Well, I would say, I love you, and life is not as difficult as we perceive it to be, and as we are conditioned to believe that it is. And really, don't make a mountain out of a molehill, because I really did that a lot in my life. Like, don't stress so much about things, and don't worry, because eventually it all works out the way it's meant to work out. Yeah. And sometimes it's still working on the fact that, oh, okay, so it worked out, but I was expecting it to work out a different way, you know. And then it's like, okay, be grateful that for the blessing that it has worked out, not the way you may have wanted it. Yeah. But yeah.
And thank you so much. One more question. Anything you'd like to say to people who have been through adverse childhood experiences, childhood trauma, anybody who's been on a similar journey to you, anyone who's read your book? Is there just one powerful message you'd like to share from your healing personal journey?
I would like to share that face it and release it. It's so liberating, and I want you to know that you are way stronger than you believe. You have that strength, you have the courage, you have the power within you to face it and to overcome it. It's not easy. By all means, it is not easy, and it can be a little bit of a shit show. Yeah, you know, but
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is possible to overcome it, and it's possible to release it. And there's so much more to life on the other side of that. It's so overwhelming, and it's like you will discover so much about yourself that you had no idea was there. And it's so, like, I don't even have the words when I keep discovering, like, wow, I can do this. Oh, wow. I only thought certain people had, you know, it was for certain people, those kind of blessings and stuff like that. So you can have the life that you wish to have, but don't believe is possible for you on the other side of healing that pain and not being embarrassed about what you went through as well, because we all dealt with something. So,
thank you so much. We have to limit it, otherwise it goes too long, then I can't upload it. And there's so much more to go into, but we also want to keep people engaged, and they can come back for feedback, and maybe we'll do another one in time. I'm very open.
I would love that. It has been such a great honor sharing with you and being here. Thank you for giving me this time and space. I feel freer, if that's possible, you know, being able to share more about it, because I didn't go into depth in the book as I was able to share today. So thank you very much.
Thank you for being so strong, vulnerable, facing your fears, dealing with your personal challenges, the limiting beliefs, and for showing up in such a powerful, authentic way for yourself, for your kids. And you're doing an amazing journey. And thank you for allowing me a minute to witness it and share it with you.
It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay.